All right. Another episode here of Confessions of a Street Broker. Sarah LanCarte Commercial, founder. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Well, thanks for being here today. This is going to be fun. We've been buddies for a long time and kind of got in about the same time and kind of had the same trajectories and things. And so it's great. You know, you're kind of the queen of Fort Worth. Industrial.
I'll take it.
Yeah. There you go. That's better than founder. I should have called you that, right?
Yeah. I've been called the queen of Jacksboro Highway, and that's not what I want to be called. Early days.
Awesome. Well, let's just start at the beginning. What's your story? Where are you from? Why did you want to do industrial? Like, because you're the only girl that does it well.
Born and raised in Fort Worth. My dad owned manufacturing businesses, so I was around industrial.
What kind of manufacturing businesses?
They build bridge cranes and conveyor systems. So
okay, metal fabrication type stuff. Got it. Okay.
Heavy manufacturing. So I grew up around industrial. My dad is the perfect, like, quintessential industrial owner, tenant, just a little scrappy.
Yeah.
Went away to college. At Auburn University. Then
why Auburn? How'd you pick Auburn?
I'm my dad's only daughter.
Okay.
My college visits revolved around football games, to be honest with you. So I got sold a little bit. We went to the Auburn, I think, Ole Miss game because my dad wanted to go during football season.
Yeah.
And I got sold. I met, and he had retired. It was a retired businessman, got into... after he retired, recruitment for Auburn, and he sold me, basically.
So your dad went to Auburn?
No. My dad didn't graduate. Neither of my parents graduated from college, to be honest with you. So I was, I guess, the first. I've extended family, but yeah.
Well, I think it's good you didn't go to Ole Miss, and here's why. I went to Ole Miss one weekend, and this was probably 5 or 6 years ago, so I'm like 40 at the time. And college girls are hitting on us because there's no men that go to Ole Miss. It's like 7-to-1 girl to guy ratio. So
really?
It was unbelievable. I was like, why are college girls hitting on us? Like,
it was like TCU.
Yeah, they're like, hey, y'all are available, right? Like, and we look out we're at this bar. They have like a dance floor, and there's like
actually the opposite at TCU.
There's no. I mean, it's just a bunch of girls dancing with themselves. I was like, this is hilarious.
Yeah.
I came home and told my wife, I go, our daughter cannot go to Ole Miss. Our son can. But anyways, so your dad recruited you to Auburn. That's
a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, I say that, but it was great. I loved every 4 years. I got involved. So I grew up, my dad was in manufacturing. He sold his business when, the main business, he's back into it, but sold the business when I was in middle school, like going into high school. Okay. He had a non-compete, wasn't sure what to do, started dabbling in real estate. He had bought industrial buildings for the business over the years. But that's where I was first exposed. And then I also was surrounded by like other families that, I kind of looked. I was always observant, and I did want to make money, and I kind of looked at the common denominator, some of the people and families that I was friends with and that had some money. Yeah. And the common denominator was they were all some sort of in real estate.
Right.
And so it intrigued me. And then when I was a finance major at Auburn, and I joined the real estate club, and which was great for me because I would recruit people to come and speak, whether it's a broker, lender, developer, to come and speak to our group. And then I would tag on the end when I'm asking them to come speak. Can I come, meet you in Atlanta? Atlanta was the closest big city. So, and then through that, realized I think my personality fit sales, and I decided I want to be a broker. I had no clue really what a broker was, but that's kind of the story. And I went and met with a guy. His name was John O'Neill. He was with Cushman and Wakefield and the Atlanta office. And he was like, do you want to live in Atlanta full time? It was 2010. The job market was really tough, 2009, 10. And he's like, do you want to live in Atlanta? And I was like, ultimately, no. When I moved back to Fort Worth, I'm really close to my family. He's like, do not try to take a job at Cushman. Go back to Fort Worth. That's where you want to be. This is a relationship business. Go find the best person. You should do it. He's the one that told me I should do industrial because you've been around it your whole life. You already know cranes and dock doors and you know the type of people. Yeah. So it was some of the best advice I got because it really was the first trajectory of like getting into the business. And so I found the best broker, and that was Jerry Alexander.
Yep.
And he was with NAI Huff Partners, SIOR. And I went and met with him, and he was like, no, we're not hiring. We don't need anybody. Here are 12 people you should go meet with. And so most of them were in Dallas. I met with all of them, and I'm like, I really want to be in Fort Worth, and I really want to work for Jerry.
Yeah.
Because he's the best. And he was kind of like, I don't know if you ever met Jerry.
He was the man.
He was the man.
Yeah.
But he also had a kind of like a laid back kind of attitude about him. He was like, yeah, you don't want to, we're not hiring. And then I came back and I met with him again. And, I was 20, I don't know, when you graduate from college?
22, 23.
23. I was nervous as hell. I mean, I would practice every time I'd go meet with someone or call, like what I was going to say. Mm-hmm. But I got the nerve up to go back to Jerry and be like, I promise you, I won't disappoint you.
Yeah.
You need to hire me.
Yeah.
And he was like, okay, well, we'll give you a phone and some cards. And that's how I got into the business. Yeah. Actually, before I even graduated, I was technically working at Huff Partners, but still had to finish this. I ended up double majoring in finance and Spanish.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, it's funny how similar our lives were. Like, I grew up in an industrial building in a steel company.
Oh, really? I didn't know.
Yeah. It's funny. We still own that building. My dad built iOS before it was a thing. So we have a 18,000 foot building on 5 acres in Grand Prairie, and it's made more money on that building than we ever did in the steel business.
That's the crane building. It was in Haltom City, and Cascade Heights is where the first place I started making calls because they all knew my dad. Gaffy Cranes.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
So you get some cards and a phone, and go. What happens then? You just start calling? Did you give you a territory? Or did you just you have to go? You started in Haltom City calling.
I started in So, one, Jerry gave me the opportunity.
Yeah.
He's a great man. But he was also at a different phase in his life and career that he was, kind of playing a little bit more golf. Yeah. And I was like, what the heck do I do? First, I called, all my friends' parents or my parents' friends, other people I knew business, like practiced what I said, called them all on the phone, and really wasn't okay. We went through that Rolodex. Now what do I do? And my dad, being in sales, and he was like, you just need to go door to door every day. And I would go pass out 50 flyers and I would work Jerry's listings because I had product then off of him. And I would just go pass out flyers and didn't know what to say. Just stumbled my way through it, fake it till you make it. Right. But it was really tough. Like I was making 50 calls a day. I mean, I remember being on like 820 and over on the east side, not the best part of town. And I remember the gas station. I remember where I was parked. I just pulled in one day and I broke down. I'm like, what am I doing? I have 2 degrees. I'm smart. I'm like, this is terrible. I'm
getting the absolute hood of Fort Worth right now.
Going into some of the worst areas by myself. This is terrible. And I almost quit and went to law school, but thank God I didn't. But I just, I was fortunate because I did have my dad. I had someone I could call that would just encourage me, stay the course is what he would always say. Stay the course, stay the course. It will pay off. It will pay off. And what I would do is if I finished my 50 calls early, I'd go get a pedicure or go shopping or do what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
But then I got so busy. Like you said, it was a compounding effect. I was doing so much, and then the business actually did start to come. And then I couldn't go get a pedicure because I had to go process all this business. And then it just, never in a million years did I think, I could have the career in this business that.
It's been fun. It's, it's funny how when you're starting, I think a lot of people quit right before, everybody kind of quits right before it turns on.
That's exactly what I almost did that.
Yeah. You're just kind of like, man, this is
a grind.
I've been doing this for 6 months and nothing's happened. And it's like 6 months and a day.
It was more than 6 months.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, we both started in 2010. I started in 2010. And I was managing property before that, but I started brokering in 2010. And I mean, they would give you an industrial building for like a year for free, like just move in it so no one tears it apart, and it's funny, like we probably leased buildings on a gross basis of what operating expenses are today. Like probably done plenty of $2 to $3 gross deals before, and
still dogs.
Yeah. And it's funny. I did a renewal the other day for a client of mine. It's 13,000 feet. And I was like, wow, this is a real fee. The rents are so high now. This is awesome. So, but that's, that's where a lot of people just kind of gas out, man. And they, they don't want to make the calls. They don't want to do all those things. And if that ain't for you, it ain't gonna work, And I don't know how. We've always done like we call it action group, and we track everybody's stuff every week, and you can tell the people that are lying. It's like,
oh, for sure.
It's like you're not, and then and the problem with that too is you're just lying to yourself. Like if you're not going to go out and actually do it, it's not really going to work, and. So it's not, a lot of people are not built for it. So, but at least you had the pedicure to look for at the end of the day. So,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So,
one funny thing too, talking about feet, but I wore shoes. Jerry. So it was so funny. I would go make all these cold calls. I had not making any money.
Yeah.
My heels were always like torn to crap. I still wore like, shoes, and I walk in industrial, and you're going through like Caliche and yard space, and he would, every time I got a discount card to DSW, he'd throw it on my desk and be like, go buy new shoes, go buy new shoes. And eventually, I think he bought me shoes one time, but it was kind of a funny thing about him. He was like, it's like, well, I go through a lot of hills. I'm out working.
Yeah, no, that's I've always said that too. Look at a salesperson's shoes. If you look at them, you can see if they're really that good or not.
Yeah.
Because I would go through a sole in like 3 months, and just because, how many nails in your tires have you had?
A lot. I always buy the insurance. I learned that quickly.
Yeah. You always win that at Discount Tire. That's a no-brainer.
They don't know, but yeah.
Have you ever been on Halifax Street in Dallas?
No.
It's in Brook Hollow, and it is the worst street. I mean, it used to be like, it looked like it got carpet bombed by like.
Does it dead end to where there's like a?
It's right by the train tracks. It runs parallel.
I know exactly.
And I had one time I went and test drove a car at this car dealership in Irving. They go, hey, we'll go drive. So I go, no, we're going to Halifax. I took this dude down Halifax. I was like, he's like, oh my gosh. I go, yeah, I drive this street every day.
Yeah.
Gotta make sure this thing works on it. So, so you're at NAI Huff Partners, and then at some point you go to Transwestern, right?
Well, we merged.
Okay, y'all merged.
That was like in 12, 13, like a couple years afterwards.
Got it.
Yeah.
And then, so then you're at Transwestern. How long are you there?
I was there a little over 9 years.
Okay. And then that's when LanCarte started?
I went over to Fort Capital.
That's right.
So Chris wanted to get into commercial real estate, wanted to get into industrial, really ran in their platform. I remember teaching like Industrial 101, and like they're super successful now. And but I miss the brokerage side of the business too, like being in the day to day. And so I was there for just a short period of time. And then, but it was a great experience. And I think my career up to this path, I've only been 2 companies. I've never received a paycheck my entire life. I've always been commissioned. But coming from a big company, seeing how Fort was run, it inspired me. I think if I had never left Transwestern to go to Fort, it would have given me the confidence to be able to go and start LanCarte. But that's when I was like, I want to go do something different. People ask me all the time, like, did you plan to go start the company? And I was like, no. Like, I was really happy with Transwestern and just going the trajectory. Yes, Chris came to me with an opportunity. I turned him down like 3 times, and then it was an opportunity I couldn't refuse. It also taught me a ton that I didn't know, just being on the ownership perspective. But I missed being in. I mean, I love it. I love real estate. Like, I'm a deal junkie. I just want to be in the know all the time. But I looked up and I was like, I want to go start my own company. And when was that? 2017?
Yeah. No, that's pretty cool getting that kind of perspective though, going over to Fort, because there's a lot of things on that side that I didn't know either before I came over to here, and honestly, I learned a lot of that from Cantex, just buying a bunch of buildings with them and understanding, we'd always bought buildings, but, seeing how someone else buys buildings too gave me a lot of different perspective versus just me and Jeff buying buildings and stuff like that.
I was so naive to the whole private equity. I really thought like everyone either was very individually wealthy and bought real estate, or you were institutional, the private equity side of the real estate. I didn't really quite understand. But learning, I learned that from Chris.
I learned that from Romy. I remember just one day I'm sitting. So I used to go eat my lunch in Romy's office like every day. So I always thought that was so smart of them. They wanted to own Brook Hollow, so they officed like in Brook Hollow. So I just ate my lunch there every day, and I remember he showed me a waterfall, and I was like, "Wait, what?
Niagara Falls?
How's this work? What is this?" I went back and go, Jeff, you've done this wrong. Nope. We got to change these things. He goes, that's too much math. I was like, no, I can build a spreadsheet. I promise. Yeah. But that was the interesting part about it, and that's what really fascinated me about that side of the business. I was like, man, we all get these calls. Hey, we've got $1 billion. We want to buy buildings, and you're like, get in line, and I kind of just came to the realization. I was like, I just need to know how to get money. I don't really know how to get money. And, but that's kind of what ended up leading me to this side. The first deal I ever syndicated was one Romy bought, and I was like, dude, what are you doing with this? Like, this is too small for you now. And he goes, yeah, you're right. I go, put $100,000 on it and sell it to me, and I'll syndicate it.
Yeah.
and so, that I think being able to go get that perspective, that's the one thing I've never worked anywhere, and so that's the one thing I lack. And that's why I like having like Will come over here from Holt Lunsford and stuff, totally different kind of platform and all that stuff. And so it's like, I have to kind of go get that experience through maybe acquiring people from other places now. But it's, the fact that you got to go work there and see all that side it makes you a whole more well-rounded real estate person for sure.
Oh, for sure. I mean, and I got into real estate. My dad has always bought real estate, industrial, but it was just him, and it's just very old school mentality, just cash flowing forever, which is a good model too.
Works very well.
But it was just very simple, and which I still think is a really good model, but you learn so much from just working with other people, mentorship.
Seeing other people do things, right?
Seeing other people do things.
Or things you didn't know about. Like, you end up using the finance degree a lot more, right? It's like, you see, that's what my degree is in finance. And I was like, I didn't even, they didn't even teach this side of it in school. They should have, you know what I mean? It's funny, I know what you mean. Like, you'd love the broker and all this. It's funny now, my my broker side of me is calling on capital now. I'm like, I just want to hustle up money, So money. I got Will in here just hustling up deals. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go get the money. You get the deal. I get the money.
Yeah. I just love the deal. I'm a deal junkie. I think about real estate, different kinds. I mean, industrial is always going to be at the core because I've grown up around it. I love it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Have you ever messed around with any other asset classes?
So at LanCarte, we do other office, retail. We don't do any multifamily. We do a lot of land sales in Fort Worth. I mean, we're really entrenched in the Tarrant County market.
Yeah.
On all asset classes.
Yeah. How's office going? Is that?
That's a loaded question.
Yeah. Okay.
In parts.
What are y'all doing? Are y'all doing more leasing or tenant repping or what?
We do both.
Mm-hmm.
But like South Main, Fort Worth, we're fully leased, pushing rents, 30s plus net, which for Fort Worth. But then you have office towers downtown that you can't almost give it away.
Yeah.
It is. You hear this stated over and over, flight to quality. I think it's flight to quality and a flight to I got to think of a better word, but like a coolness factor a little bit.
Yeah.
Like people just are tired of being they're trying to recruit people back into the office and how they feel like they can do it. And I think there's validity to it of having a cool place for them to go. If they're on the 20th floor of a 80s built office building, it just isn't super inspiring. It just isn't. But if you're in the middle of kind of a mixed use urban redevelopment area, I think people want to go there. Our office in Fort Worth I'm really proud of it.
Yeah.
Costs more than I would have liked, but we took an old industrial building it's called the Bailey Industrial District.
Mm-hmm.
They've now coined it Panther City District, but we bought an old industrial building. We completely gutted it, built it out. And people from the city, different things, use our office. And I think that it's more inspiring to come to work when it's a cool atmosphere a little bit. But it doesn't help the bottom line.
Well, maybe it does, right?
Maybe it does. Ultimately, that's the goal.
Yeah, maybe you can recruit better talent, right? If you got a cooler factor of where to go to work, if they want to come to work.
Brokers, you don't want them in the office. You want them out.
Yeah.
But
yeah, if you're at the office between the hours of 8 and 5, isn't it funny how I always felt like if I was in the office, I was like, I'm not working.
Yeah.
I'm not working. I gotta get out of here. I can't, I have to be on the street if it's between 8 and 5.
That's how I was. And then I would show up. So at the time, my admin, every day at 5 o'clock, I would come back into the office and I'd have all these cards and processing all the calls that I made and the leads I got. And she was like, you really always just show up at 5 o'clock, right before they start to leave. I'm like, you don't have to stay. I'm getting this all off of me onto you. But she would always be so mad that I was coming in at 5 o'clock. You haven't been here all day. Why are you coming in now?
This is what it takes.
Mm-hmm.
This is what it takes to win. Yeah, because it's funny. Having a CRM that is tight is worth its weight in gold. And that's what, I try to tell young brokers. I'm like, listen.
Yeah.
If call it data hygiene. If you have good data hygiene, it's pretty unstoppable. It's very deadly. You can really do some cool stuff with that. Get them to actually do it.
It's so tough.
It's so tough, So when you decided to start LanCarte, what was you knew you wanted to go do your own? Did you know you wanted to get into other asset classes of brokerage too at that time? Or did y'all just start off with industrial or?
Well, it was just me.
Okay.
At first. We were at this.
Where did you office? Is just you? Just your house?
Oh, the office story is kind of funny. Of all the places we've moved 7 times in 5 years.
That's what happens with a small company. This is where we were in co-working. We're in here. We're moving next door now. That's 3 times in 2 years. So
I had a client. The best was I had a client that had a logistics company that they were like, okay, we're not going to do this. And they had built out office above. It was actually a commercial printing company. Yeah. They had the logistics company and a mezzanine office above a warehouse where he was like, you can office up there for free. And I was like, okay, that sounds really good.
Yeah.
So we had like 10 people up in the warehouse. You had to come up to our office through the back exit stairs. This is over the near south side when there were still like some industrial buildings. You had to come up the metal stairs on the outside of the building and through the door to get into our walk through. Like they're in the warehouse, like on the mezz, they had built out the office. But before you got there, it was just like dead storage, like their furniture, their kids' toys. Like it was literally like we would never have I'll tell about it now, but at the time I was like, don't tell anybody that we're officing here. Meet them at the coffee shop down the street. Like it was, and when it would rain and the metal, like these are the fire escape stairs. Like we would be like, okay, everyone hold on to the rails. Like we don't want an HR. Like, but yeah, we moved a lot. So
7 times, and then you just bought your own building finally?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we bought the building, like literally, Hubbard sold it to us.
Yeah.
And we bought it right before COVID hit. And we're like, oh my gosh, like, what are we going to do? Like, this was terrible. And then we grew and leased out. We bought it with a partner. So they're in real estate, but they do single tenant retail, and they lease part of it, and then we lease part to an architect. So
gotcha. Okay, so you just started with you. Who's the first person you hired?
My old assistant.
Yeah. Okay, still with you?
Still with us.
So how many brokers do you have now?
We have 22 brokers.
Wow.
47. So we do property management as well. So a lot of our staff is on the property management side.
Yeah.
The brokers.
God bless you for property management. I started hiring that out.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work.
It's a lot of thankless work, honestly. It's I don't know that anybody at the end of the day really gets the credit they deserve.
I think it is such a tough job. I mean, for those managers, they're on the clock 24/7.
Yeah.
They're they only get calls typically when something's going wrong. And they don't get, it's a thankless job.
And probably 80% of the time it's the tenant's responsibility, but they're still getting the phone call.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
okay. So how many people you say you have now?
Total 47.
47. How big is your industrial building?
The whole building?
No, your office space.
Oh, we're like 5,000 square feet.
Okay. So you got them all packed in there. That's a lot of people.
Yeah, we designed the space. I mean, we have small offices, but they're all glass and a lot of common area, but we're packed in there.
Yeah.
So, and good. I thought that was like the 10-year plan.
So 22 brokers. How do you, do y'all usually hire new people, or do y'all pull people from other shops, or both, or just whatever? Or what's your kind of thought on that? Do you like one versus the other? I've seen some people just hire brand new every time, and then it seems like, people move around. So
I would say it's a mix of both.
Yeah.
I haven't figured it out yet. I mean, we have a great group of people and a great, I really try. I mean, part of the reason I founded LanCarte was I wanted a culture where people share, they work together on deals.
Mm-hmm.
You can still go work your own deal, but like truly trying to work together. Because the one thing I always saw is just, we all have so much information and deals and tenant knowledge and things in our head.
Yeah.
And the guy 2 offices down might be working on like a similar thing that if they just teamed up, they could get it done.
Yeah.
But if you're not communicating and talking to each other, you would never know. And that just always drove me crazy. Like before, it's like we all like each other, but we're just not talking about stuff. And we both didn't get the deal. But if we had teamed up, we would have crushed it. Like that stuff. Like I was like, man, I just want to create this environment where, and it takes a lot of work because, one, the way a broker, I mean, you're a 1099, eat what you kill.
Mm-hmm.
So creating that is difficult because everyone wants to go do their own thing, which I get it. But there's so much, you might know this tenant's moving out of the building. You might have the buyer or another user. Like, there's just so much of that I think goes missed.
Okay, so I totally think what you were just talking about is something that if, like, I've seen this at Mercer Company a lot. We're literally, like, half the time I see a guy's listing. I'm like, I didn't even know you had that listing.
Yep.
I had a tenant for that. Oh, it's under contract. Or I had a buyer for that. It's under contract. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, how? Like, and I'm not like mad at him. I'm not mad at me. I'm like, shame on us.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And so I was almost like, you could almost have a guy or a girl that just works internally and just, they're the internal broker. Show me all your tenant rep deals. Okay, let me look at all of our leasing opportunities. You know, just like pairing it, like just someone that knows every deal that's going on, and their sole job is just to pair deals up within a brokerage, and then you get more direct fees.
Yep.
You know,
so we kind of not that exact same thing, but we hired a managing director of brokerage. One, I want to do deals with the size of the office. I want to be there and provide advice and like, let's go pitch business. Let's go get this leased or sold. Like, let me go help you, execute. But I don't want to manage people in like a day-to-day management role. And I'm not good at it. They know I'm not good at it. Like, I want to go do deals. So I'm like distracted to go do business. But we hired someone. I also don't think like the player coach works. Yeah. Because you're not aligned to go really help everybody else. And so we hire, like, he gets paid salary. He gets a bonus, but his job is to help the brokers do more deals, win more business, communicate, collaborate. So we put our money where our mouth is and saying, like, this is what we want to do. We want people to work together. We want to go gain market share and execute well. And I think there's just so much knowledge with all brokers. And if you can get it out and get people talking, you're gonna do better. I mean, here's an example. I mean, this made me sick one time. I had a building I owned with a tenant, and the tenant's like, dude, I need to expand. This is too small. This is too small for me now. I'm like, okay, well, I mean, you got a lease for like 4 more years. I don't really know what to do. Another guy at Mercer Company got a listing right next door. I could have torn the fence down. And then like it shows up and I'm like, did you have that listing? He goes, oh yeah, we're already under contract. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, dude, I would have bought it. We would have leased it. You know what I mean? It's like just easy layups like that, through no one's fault of their own, but I think it starts at the top. Yeah. And you got to so everybody in our office sees my entire calendar, who I'm meeting with, everything. Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, it's an open book. Yeah. I mean, we have a group text. We're texting deals, texting market. Like, hey, I heard this happened. Does anyone know? Yeah. There's just a lot and I mean, it takes effort to keep doing that. But I learned that, I would say, even at Fort, like Chris was always just very open book and talking about things. And I was like, I hadn't been in that culture where just, he felt like the more you share, the more like things will happen, like versus hoarding it in. Yeah. And it took me a while to do that because that wasn't how I was trained. You know, it was kind of run at the printer, grab my stuff, keep it close to the vest. And I didn't like that. Like, it just isn't naturally who I am. And so that's really at the core of what we're trying to keep. And as you grow, it's hard. But it's it's funny is like I was never really a good broker teammate. I was such a lone wolf. I was like, just give it to me. I got it. Yeah. Like, and but here I had to like, now what I'm doing, like I got to really create a team because we're not just brokering it, moving on to the next deal. It's like we're brokering it and then we're living with it, Yeah. And so it's, trying to, it's a tough dynamic to manage too, because you will have those people you send out something like, oh, I know them from 20 years ago. Yeah. Like, let me help on the deal. It's like, come on, like you want good people in there that are going to try to help. But if they really don't have value to it, step back because they know that it's going to come in return later. It's just, but it's hard. No, it is. Even, we're
7 people. And like, even with that, it's tough. Like sometimes, I mean, our biggest balls that we ever drop is when we have breakdowns in communication. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And like, or we get off some routine we were doing, we just, you vary a degree from that routine, and you just, you next thing you know, you end up all the way over here. And, and so those are, but like having someone, I think it's great. You'll have a guy that's just sitting there walking around. I mean, I think that's what it takes. I mean, you'll end up paying for his salary just by figuring out what everybody's doing more and putting I've always said brokerage is this. You're building a puzzle.
Yep.
While you're playing checkers, chess, and poker all at the same time, like all stacked on top of each other. That's brokerage, in submarkets, if you're just building all these pieces, and then every now and then you're just going to jump, then you're going to make a move on a chessboard because you're going to see what's going to happen. You're going to see a tenant's moving here. That you're going to call that owner, right? Just like we were talking about before going, hey, this tenant's moving. Call that owner.
Exactly.
He might not know, and if he finds out, then he might want to do something, and you might just be there.
That's the number. It's about connecting the dots.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can do that and quickly do it,
yeah,
you'll be good.
So what's the future of LanCarte? How far do you want to go with it? Do you want to just stay in Fort Worth? Do you want to get over to Dallas, or do y'all do much in Dallas really, or is it just y'all Fort Worth based for the most part?
We have plans to grow into Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. We have product over here, and so yeah, we do want to grow.
Yeah. Okay.
That's
so
the
you're gonna have 200 employees at some point.
I don't know about that. But yeah, I mean, when you have the right people, and my husband and I worked together. He was in investment banking.
Yeah.
He came over 2 years ago. It was awesome. People were like, "Are you sure you want to work with your husband?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I do have hesitation because everyone's scaring me about this, but we're also black and white.
Yeah.
Like totally different. He's a number. He runs basically the day-to-day operation of LanCarte. He does all the finances. I just say, I'm the salesperson. Like I work under deals. These people.
Yeah, so you're just going out and doing deals. That's all you want to do, right? Yeah, that's all I'd want to do. That makes sense.
And I don't feel bad about it. I mean, I used to like struggle with like feeling bad about doing that, but that is what the company needs me to do. That's what I am best at. And then letting other people manage and do the things that they're best at that aren't my strong suits. And so, that's part of the growing pains of like learning these things, like learning what you're best at and not trying to do all of it.
Right. So you still have to get brought into the day-to-day of the business, right?
Yeah.
But is it kind of refreshing just to be able to leave and go make cold calls now?
Yeah. A lot of times they tell me like, Sarah, don't get involved. Like, I've been told I have seagull management.
Seagull management. Mm-hmm. What does that mean? I have not heard that term.
I fly in, I shit on it, and then I fly out.
You just keep your flights to yourself, Sarah. You go make calls.
Language.
Yeah, no, it's fine. No, we're good. That's funny. I fly in the shit out of lead.
So I stick with what I'm good at.
Yeah, no, that's where it's at, right?
Yeah.
I sometimes will stick my foot in things here that I probably shouldn't, and but every now and then it's like it's funny being on this side. Like I try not to handle all the leasing stuff, but sometimes I'm just like, I can let me just get this.
Yeah.
I got a broker working for us on the side. I'm like, okay, just give me. I got it. I'll get this lease. give me the tenant's name. I'll get it done.
Yeah.
And so, well, let me ask you this: do you use Spanish much in your brokerage?
No.
I
have a degree in Spanish, but I wouldn't do business in Spanish. I very much wish I was more fluent.
Yeah.
But it's not like riding a bike. If you don't
do it all the time,
use it, you lose it.
Yeah. Well, so if, gosh, where was I going with this? About this. This is something I want to ask about for us because I don't know about it too much. But will you explain Panther Island to me? That's what it's called, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Explain it to me. Like I've seen something about it, but I don't know anything about it. So I want to know about it.
So it is, and don't quote me on this, and I should know, but we've sold it, but it's about 200 acres in the middle of a major city. Fort Worth is the 12th largest city in the country.
Mm-hmm.
Panther Island's 200 acres. It's basically sandwiched in between downtown Fort Worth and the Stockyards, which the Stockyards is seeing tremendous growth. And Panther Island will become an island. It's not an island today, but with the Central City Flood Project, which is with the Corps of Engineers, which I don't know if you've been on the Trinity Rivers in Fort Worth, but we have these huge levee systems.
Yep.
There will be a bypass canal that will connect the Trinity River that is on the eastern side to the western side and make Panther Island a true island.
So it'll have a moat around it, essentially.
Well, yeah, the Trinity River will go all the way around it. Right now, we just have bridges over dry land.
Yeah.
And that's what you hear in the paper a lot about, getting all the funding. And we do, but not all the funding is there, but we're getting very close. We just sold 26 acres of that land, which was the largest private owned land on the island. A lot of the land is owned by the Trinity River,
Authority.
The Water District, Tarrant County College. I do think so we sold the land to an Austin developer who's developed a ton of East Austin, downtown Austin. They have a ton of experience. I think they're going to do great things.
Mm-hmm.
I think you'll see development starting to occur in the next 18 months. I think the city just announced that they're going to demolish the old stadium, which I think is a good thing, that it's just been sitting there vacant for 10 plus years, it feels like. And I was just pushing the city. I was like, you either need to tear it down or turn it back into a baseball field. And the economics with baseball now, it just didn't make sense.
Yeah.
Like you couldn't make it work. Or from what I was hearing, I don't know anything truly about the baseball operations and business, and so I think they've made a decision to finally tear it down and then put it eventually, either become a green space or into development.
Yeah. And so what are they, just mixed use types of stuff there? And
mm-hmm.
Okay. That's so when
it's still, the levees aren't going to come down for honestly 7 or 8 years.
Oh, okay.
So it's
pretty cool project to work on, though.
Yeah, but the center part of it,
yeah.
They need to, the utilities need to be upgraded, but you can still have development starting to occur. You're just not going to have the water frontage until later on when those levees come down and that land is out of the floodplain and developable. But
yeah. Okay, good. I want to
my
learn
kids
about
will
that.
Go there, but yeah, they're 1 and 3. So.
Yeah, there you go. You'll be they'll be 10.
I'll be 70.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They'll be 10. You said 7 to 8 years, right? No, that'd be good.
Yeah.
So, okay. This is something I always like to ask.
Okay.
What was your most awkward or funny cold call that you ever went on, or just, got ran off, or something that's very memorable to you?
I've had a couple. One was I think it was literally within the same day or same week. I can't remember. It was long, the beginning of my career, but I walked in and this guy, I remember it was off of 28th Street in Fort Worth, and he obviously didn't want me in there, and he was like, "Get out." And I was like, "Well, just take my card in case you change your mind." I just kept pushing it, even though I should have just left. I was like, he was like, "You want me to take your card? I'll take your card." And he slammed it in the trash can. And I was like, okay, I'm going to leave now. But then the next cold call, I went in and it was a trucking yard. And the guy was like, "No, I'm not interested, but you want to go to Billy Bob's tonight and go dancing?" And I was like, "No, I'm out of here too." What am I doing?
That's funny. I had Nathan Denton on here a couple of weeks ago. And he goes, "I went and made this call and gave my card to the girl up front. And then, the guy I was looking for wasn't there. And he goes, about 10 minutes later, she calls me. She goes, 'Hey, can you come back here?' He comes back there and he goes, the girl came back and goes, 'Hey, do you want to go on a date?'"
No, sorry.
He's like, I'm flattered. But
maybe if you give me your business, we can go on a date.
Let's get that decision maker in here, and let's see if we can knock this out. We can go have dinner, So,
it was funny. I was so I was coming on your show, and I mentioned it to Pete, and Pete was coming.
Yeah.
A funny story. This is real recently. Yeah. So we decided to team up on a listing because he's got a client in Fort Worth. So we're teaming up on this deal, and he takes me out, and we go walk the building, and I come back. I'm like eaten up with fleas. I was like, they're all down my legs. And I come back to the office, and I'm like, man, I got fleas like still all over me. And I look into the mirror in the bathroom, and I got a flea in my hair. And I was like, oh my God. So I blame it on Pete.
Oh, it's funny. Yeah. Oh, Pete, man. He taught, I started buying houses, and Pete kind of taught me how to go chase foreclosures.
Oh, really?
I used to go meet Pete at 6 a.m. at the Mecca for breakfast, because he was working with Jeff at Robert Lynn, and he was buying all these little houses at the courthouse steps. It's kind of before people really knew about this. I mean, this is 20 plus years ago.
Really?
And, so that's how I got to know Pete, and then obviously done deals with him forever. But yeah, Pete's a hoot, man.
He's a wheeler dealer.
He is, man. He's a wheeler dealer. We're working on a couple things now together. So
that's awesome.
What about you've ever been in any dicey situations? Like just I'm these industrial buildings lead to some shady dealings.
Yeah. There's another building over on Northside Drive. Went in. Luckily, I was touring it with he was a pretty big dude. Mm-hmm. But we walk in, and it did have power. I went to go switch on the lights. The lights don't come on. And I'm like, oh, shoot, I think someone's probably got the power. But we both pulled out our phones and started walking through. And we get back into a back corner, and there's a guy laying there, and it smells, and we're like, oh my, and he screamed louder than I did. Well, first we both scream, and we run out. We're like, there's a dead dude in there. And I call 911. This is funny too, because I called 911, and if you tell them there's a dead person in a building, they come really quickly. But I was on the line with 911, and the lady is like, well, did you check his pulse? I was like, no, I didn't check his pulse. I ran out the building. She's like, well, do you think you should go in there and check on it? I'm like, no, this is a guy that was probably stealing the copper and got electrocuted. I'm not going in to check his pulse. Sorry. I don't want him to die, but no, I'm not going in. And finally, not finally, they showed up really quickly.
Yeah.
And they came in, and they were like, while I waited in the car, walked through the building, they're like, ma'am, are you sure you saw someone? I'm like, I am 100% sure there was a guy there. And sure enough, there was the guy, this wasn't a huge building, but 80,000 square feet, multi-levels, no lights. It was hard to find your way through it. And he ran from the front corner all the way out the back door, and the guy saw him. They never caught him, but scared the crap out of me, because I thought he was dead in there.
No, I was.
There's lots of power stories. There was one too. I caught a group. They were in there stealing the power. They didn't see me or hear me, so I immediately left and drove down the street, called the police, and they came and they caught these guys, and then. Apparently, it was their third time to be caught. They had all these receipts from scrap metal. These were repeat offenders. And so they call me in to be a witness. And I'm a year in the business, 22. I'm like, I'm not going to go be a witness for these criminals so they can see me and my name. And no, thank you. And this is when things were a lot slower. Jerry's like, I'll go do it. I'm like, Jerry, I think it just was wanted the excitement of going to be a witness. But yeah.
I had that. So I had I leased a building, and my landlord, he was like, hey, they didn't pay rent. I go, well, go lock them out. I go, I got a buyer for that building.
Yeah.
So he goes to lock them out, and he goes, they were a granite company. He calls me, he goes, they're not doing granite.
Oh.
And I guess it was some Colombian fencing ring. And like they had stolen all kinds of stuff from people. Like it worked out very well for me because they stole all these containers from a user in 250,000 foot in my market. They stole a truck from a user in another 120,000 foot in my market. So I get to go call them all and go, hey, I found your stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, remember me, that guy you always slam the door, and I actually got some real
stuff.
And so I got to like give everybody their stuff back. One of them cut me a check for like $5,000 just for thank you, because it was a bunch of overseas containers. They're like, they did like decor for hotels, and they're like, this was supposed to go into a Marriott that just got built, and like we would have to order it all over again from China, and we'd miss the opening, all that stuff. But
there's some shady stuff. We had one on Shady Trail.
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
Hence the name.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's bad. I mean, they shot up his car. Like, it was a property I'm leasing, and like shot the guy, and then tried to burn the evidence. I guess car and him in it. It was terrible.
Well, so on this deal, so the cops are like, hey, we need you to come testify. I'm like, I don't want to come. I don't want these guys to like see me and like send off. I was like, no. The detective's like, you won't come testify? I was like, no. I was like, they're like, well, and then the court date could get pushed out. I finally just quit responding to them. I was like, I'm not doing this. I don't want them to see my face.
Yeah. I think that's probably like a good thing that my dad was in industrial and stuff, because I think like probably most parents would have been like, I'm not going to have my daughter calling in some of these areas. And my dad was always like, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Like, when you think about it, it was probably.
Oh, yeah. It's not You're exactly right. Like I couldn't see many people letting their daughters just go out and do that.
I mean, my dad and I are really close. Like he cared for me, but I guess it's just kind of like, you'll be fine.
Yeah, he'll be good. Now, what's like the most unique deal you pulled off, or like just a deal you're like, man, that was like one of your kind of walk off home run type deal that you've done?
There's maybe two that come to mind. One is like multiple deals, but it was from a cold call, like early on in the business.
Yeah.
I had made a cold call. It was like 100,000 square foot tenant, so being new, big tenant. Guys, I walk in, hand a flyer for another building, and they like laugh at me, as they're sitting at the break room, like, we're not interested. And I was like, well, just take a flyer in case, give me a call. 30 minutes later, I got a call, and it was from the manager who luckily they did pass the flyer on. And he calls and he was like, actually, we're not interested in that building, but there's 120 down the street. Can you show it to us? I was like, yeah, let me sign it up. Yeah, I'm on it. And that's when Jerry and I were still working together. I'm like, Jerry, I got a good one on the hook. And so we ended up setting a meeting, going to show him that. And then it was right in the middle of when Jerry passed away. Mm-hmm. And I was like, not confident at the time enough to finish the deal, but like I was just nervous. Yeah. And I brought someone in, and Bob Rice was the landlord. Yeah. Still have a great relationship with him today. And he was like, Sarah, we're going to get this done. We're going to work through this together. Like, he held my hand, he's on the other side, but we worked through it together to get this deal done. Then we went and got, we got the deal done and had champagne and Riata. But then I ended up doing like multiple deals with this company, in outside Chicago and LA. Oh, wow. And it was just a really cool, from a little cold call that, a life event happened that really, shook me, and still was able to get it done and maintain the relationship. So,
what are like things you do on the regular? Like, what's your kind of routine or whatever that just, or something ritual kind of things you do that like, I got to do these things to win that, as a broker that you've found that work for you?
I time block.
Yeah.
Yeah. I still time block. Like I said, I used to do it every day of like 50 cold calls every day, and just kind of always pass out flyers, do something like that. I don't do that as much as I should anymore.
Well, you don't have to.
But it's still time block. So twice a week, I'm blocking a whole morning or a whole afternoon and just prospecting.
Yeah.
And really try to keep that as prospecting time.
That's probably the most important thing. Honestly, it's that's where I notice where things for me derail when I don't just block out that time to do it. And it's like, everything can usually wait. You know what I mean? There's really nothing that's important. But, I was listening to, who Bob Knackle is.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was listening to him. He's like, hey, you need to like plan out 2 weeks of calls. Your time for 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks, be ahead of like blocking out your time for calls.
Yeah.
And, that's you do that and everything will work out. It's, we always say, if you can kind of call your way out of anything,
Yeah.
So
always feeling, I have a coach. I've had Reagan Dixon, like literally since like going on 10 years.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know who's Reagan Dixon. I don't know who that is.
He ran Cushman & Wakefield's office.
Okay.
He's retired, but
I know who he is.
He coached a bunch of people at Transwestern when I was there.
Ward Richmond was telling me about him.
Yeah. And it's more of just accountability. You know, I still report. So like even when I worked with Jerry, I would report to him. He never asked it. I don't even think he ever even looked at it. But I am very competitive. I like numbers. I want to like set a goal and then go for it. And so I've hire him basically to keep me accountable. Like, okay, this is my production. This is what I want to make. This is what I need to do. Mm-hmm. I need these many meetings a week. And I report to him,
every week.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's been 10 years and I just call him, and sometimes we don't talk about all my production as much anymore, but I think it's just important for me. I want someone holding me accountable. And when you run your own shop, you're really the top person. Like there's no one necessarily like saying, hey, Sarah, you need to go make 50 calls a day.
Yeah.
And so I have him to hold me accountable.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really awesome. I hired a coach kind of in the infancy of Matador to kind of, and what he ended up doing was really just kind of getting me to not be a lone wolf. Yeah. Like, hey, you got to like, he's like, what do you want to do? I was like, well, I want to buy $1 bazillion worth of real estate. And he's like, well, you can't do that by yourself. I was like, okay. So he kind of coached me through like, you got to like start, building a team. And, but
I don't know who originally who said the quote, but if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
Yeah.
And I think that's true. And I keep, always playing that in my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's, I think the thing about coaching is like, all the things he's probably telling you.
Oh, yeah.
You know it all, but it's just a matter of someone telling you or you hearing it from someone else. Not, like you said, you're at the top up there. Like there's no one to hold you, no one's going to walk in and be like, Sarah, did you make your cold calls this week?
Yeah. And I like tell people, hold me accountable, but they're not going to.
No,
it's not
it's a weird position for an employee to do that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's like,
it is.
Because if you show up one week and didn't do it, they're going to be like, oh, hey, it's okay.
Yeah.
No one's going to be like, hey, what the hell?
Yeah.
So, no, that's awesome. I think that's sticking with that for 10 years to keep you consistent,
Yeah. I think I took maybe like a 1-year break and then I was like, all right, I'm back.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's, I think, the ROI on that's probably way more than what you ever spent on it,
Yeah.
So, what about books? You like reading books at all?
I do.
Is there a book you've ever read that like really just you really liked, really enjoyed, changed you, did anything for you?
The one that comes to mind, I'm always reading like self-help books. A lot of times I don't finish them, but I start them and like they get me going. I know. I've got like a stack of them all over my house, at the office. I'm like, but there's some that I've read, like The Sales Machine. I've written that like 4 times.
Yeah.
We run our company on EOS.
So do we.
Which is Traction.
Mm-hmm.
I've read that multiple times. I think when they give you a play-by-play of like kind of steps and like real simple, like this is what you can do. I like those kind of books because I can take that and put it into action, and it gives me like a not time frame, but like basically a tutorial, like a roadmap. That's the word I'm looking for. Thank you.
Yeah, no, that's what we use. We put EOS in probably 2.5 years ago, and I mean it's it's worked great. Yep. It's very simple, right? There's nothing like magic.
None of it's rockets. I mean,
no, but it's just a.
I think most things in life aren't rocket science.
They really aren't.
Don't overthink it. Just do it.
Yeah. What is it? Occam's razor. The simplest answer is usually the right one, you know?
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, no, we love EOS. We just, we had our quarterly EOS meeting like 2 weeks ago and, just everybody get their rocks out,
We did our state of the company today.
Yeah.
A little late, but yeah.
No, that's great. No, I like Traction a lot. What's the sales machine? Tell me about that.
It just gives you tips on like sales and marketing. I haven't read it in a while, but I've literally, I think had read it like 4 times and it's on my desk all marked up. It's just, honestly, I haven't read it in a couple of years, but it just gives you a step-by-step on ideas on how to market and sales. And I mean, again, it all boils down to like, go make calls,
Yeah. Just do the work.
Just do the work.
Yeah.
I have reading right now, Rod Santomassimo's Knowing Isn't Doing.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
I'm also reading. See, again, I read all these books. I just, what is it? Oh, the title sounds offensive. It's called Surrounded by Idiots. But it's learning how, again, I'm learning now how to like manage. Even though I don't manage on a day-to-day, I still am involved in managing. And like, how do you learn how to deal with all sorts of personality types?
Yeah.
And this book like breaks it down. It's basically into 4 different personality types.
Yeah. That's what we use a disc profile. We do a disc profile on everybody. And it's like, you kind of got to read into it and understand how to talk to them on, what their motivations are and whatnot. It's like, like Will's, he wants to make a bunch of money. So you can just see that right on his profile. So, it's like, you can tell it's like, okay, great. You'll work great in sales. If you don't want to make a lot of money, sales doesn't work.
Well, and it's like, okay, you got to, in this book, it puts everybody into a color. Like a red is like a very dominating, like type A personality. And then you've got like a green that's more a mix of everything, easygoing. Yeah. And the red could be totally offending this other person and have absolutely no clue. And this happens in our organization. And I'm like, they are not meaning to offend you.
Yeah.
They literally have absolutely no clue that what they're doing is offending you. So you got to talk to them.
Yeah.
You can't just avoid it. Yeah. Even though your personality wants you want to avoid it. Yeah. But this is going to be a cluster.
Yeah, no, it is. It's funny. So you have like the dominant personality, then you have the very cautious personality. So that's like Joey. He's our COO. He's a mechanical engineer.
Oh yeah.
So like everything is
In the book, he's a blue.
Oh yeah.
He's a data probably.
Oh yeah, that's
everything's on a spreadsheet.
Here's what it looks like when me, him, and Will go look at a building. Me and Will are like, yeah, building,
let's buy it.
And he's like up in the rafter, being like, man, we got drainage problems. I'm like, oh, shut up.
Yeah, but you need him in your life. Oh, my husband and I'm a red and he's a blue. Like we're complete opposite, but we counteract. I mean, we balance each other.
Yeah, no, that's how my wife. It's funny, it's funny because people are always like, oh, people born in certain times or certain personalities. Me and my wife are 2 hours apart, and we are like,
really?
Yeah, 2 hours apart.
Same day,
same year, 2 hours apart.
Oh wow!
And I mean, she is. I'm like, just give me more money. We're gonna buy another building. And she's like, no. I'm like, it's fine. I think I finally have like. See this? It's working.
I don't want to live under the bridge, Jeremy, with our children.
Yeah. I'm like, I promise it'll work. Yeah. But it's funny how, but you need those personalities within a business to do certain things. It's like, when we hired our first analyst, it was like, he was a very cautious personality, which is what you want. You want someone to try to break a deal. You don't want them to kind of break it to bring it to you, to be like, hey, this is, try to punish it as much as they can, be very cautious about it. And so that's, or whereas, you put me and Will on the dials, like, but do this.
Yeah.
So
you both will have each other living under the bridge if you don't have anyone to stop you.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So, that's kind of the dynamics of owning a company, right? It's people. At the end of the day, business is people. That's what's really cool about real estate. I've always said, real estate has the word real in it, which means relationships, which is people, and if that's the most successful people in real estate are people that can, deal with multiple kinds of personalities, because geez, how many different kinds of clients do you have? Like the whole spectrum of it, you've seen everything.
Yep. And you learn, I mean, as you mature in the career, it's like, okay, I probably, even though I can like morph into this personality to work with this person, is probably just not going to work. And it's okay if we are not going to work together, or they love hunting and I just like don't really care to talk about hunting. You know, like it's okay. Like I don't want to go on the hunting trip, but
you love it when you walk in those guys' offices and they've killed everything. They got one of everything.
Saying, I can talk it. And I do. I like to bird hunt, but you asked me to go kill a deer, I'm out.
Yeah.
Like, no, thank you.
Yeah, I'm kind of just a bird hunter too, because you can kind of go in the afternoon, have a couple beers.
You can talk.
It's like,
put me in a blind where I have to be quiet and sit still, I'm out.
Yeah. Unless I just want to like sit and read and don't care about killing anything. Like, but I just, I'll go deer hunt with my son. He loves it. So I'm like, all right, let's go, but like other than that, I'm not like, it's funny. We got to a point too. Jeff was like, hey, I'm an afternoon hunter. I don't want to get up at 5 a.m. to do this.
Yeah.
So
listen, my husband took me and we were in a pop-up like zipper tent. And like early in the morning, and I didn't bring a phone or a book or anything. And I'm like, I'm out of here. She's like, no, you cannot leave right now.
You can't leave for 5 hours.
Screw this. I'm out. I'm walking back to the ranch house. Like, yeah, that was my last time. No, thank you.
That's his fault. He should have told you to bring something.
He should have.
Yeah,
I know.
Yeah, he probably might have got a couple more hunting trips out of you.
Yeah,
maybe.
Maybe.
That's what we used to hunt with this one guy, and man, he was just militant about it. Like, hey, you when you step outside the ranch house, you can only whisper. I'm like, dude, like seriously,
you gotta wear like the non-scented deodorant.
Yeah, just everything
doesn't make sense to me.
Don't turn the lights off on the truck when we drive in the ranch. I'm like, then half the time, like we would be shooting outside of season, and then just deers run by you, and you're like. They didn't even care. Just shooting guns. They're like, hey, what's going on, guys? So, no, we've gotten, my son has gotten really into thermal hog hunting. That's kind of fun because you just go out at night and just blast them.
Watch it on, and does they do it? Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's been pretty fun. That's what I've kind of got him moved on from deer hunting just to doing that. And that's, so you can just stay up all night and do it. You can be loud, whatever, because you can see them from wherever. They can't see you and you got the thermal.
Yeah.
So, but, well, let me ask you this. What's something unique about Sarah that most people don't know?
That's a good question. I'm actually really sensitive. Like, I really care about people. It can seem like, I think people have called me like really aggressive, and I can be really aggressive, but I also I think that's something.
Underneath that tough industrial outside, you're a real softie.
Yeah, a little bit. I don't know. I just really care about people, and I just get into I want people to be happy. I just really want true happiness for people, you know, whatever that looks like.
Yeah.
And then I'm a really good water skier.
There you go.
Yeah.
When did you start water skiing? When you were young?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Todd Hop?
Yeah.
His wife, his younger sister, and I were really good friends growing up, and I was really good friends with his wife. And their dad was a big water skier. So I grew up skiing with them. Yeah. And then, Todd and I grew up down the street from each other. But he would I'd build forts in the woods. And Todd, who was a couple of years older, would come with his buddies and destroy them. And like picking on me since like elementary school. No, we have a really good relationship. I like Todd a lot. But his wife's basically Todd's father-in-law taught me to water ski. And then I grew up on a lake and my dad would take me out every night. The lake would be smooth and I'd run the slalom course and ski. And,
that's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. Well, so you got 2 little ones now and you're still brokering at a high level. Is that challenging? Do y'all just bring them to the office now?
I got a lot of help, so I'm glad I waited a while before I had kids. Yeah, I've got a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old and they're amazing and awesome. But yes, they're a lot of work.
Yeah.
So
you're in the thick of it right now because
I'm working 24/7.
Oh, yeah. That's nonstop.
They sleep good. They've always slept good. We have night nurses, which is worth it.
Yeah.
I mean, I've always worked hard and work a lot of hours. I love what I do, so it's always been fun for me. Yeah. But like when you have kids, like I also want to go be a great mom.
Yeah.
And I want to be present. So 6:30 is kind of my shut off. I'm like, I've got a young guy that works for me. I'm like, do not let me stay past 6:15. Like I got to be out the door. I live right down the street, but so 6:30 till 8 and till I go to bed and then I get back on. So
well, you're in the spot where you did it hard without kids for a long time. So you got that's what it's so funny to me when I see young brokers. I'm like, you don't have kids.
You have so much time.
You have so much time.
Like you need to be grinding it out. I'm like, what are you doing?
No, you
don't realize how much time you had until you don't have that time.
Yeah, until you have kids, man. It's a lot different because that's everything. It's funny. I started coaching my son's football team back when he was younger, and I just tell people, I was like, hey, come August, I'm unavailable pretty much because I'm so psycho about this.
Yeah.
But but it was like one of the funnest stretches of my life, and doing those things with your kid, but before all those things, I just built a business, and so to allow me to be able to do those things. So, that's good that you've.
That's what I tell the young people, grind it out, because it will allow you to do the things you want to do later. Or
I heard, it's Kyle Matthews. I heard him, I saw him just put up a post or something one time. And it's a guy giving a speech about work-life balance. And he did like the math. He goes, look, you work like a psycho in your 20s,
Yep.
And then in your 30s, you're not working as much. And he kind of like, God, I wish I could find it. But he just talked about the balance of like, you are balanced when you do it like that in a way, because at this point, then you can do the things you want to do, even though you're still working.
Yeah.
But you can balance your life out at that point. And that's really at the point where it really matters, because that's probably the window of your life when you start having kids and start having a family and all those things. And, but I just thought it was very interesting. And I sent it to every guy at Mercer Company. I was like, you need to understand this. Like, this is your window. All you young guys, like, you need to be up, 12 hours a day,
Go networking after hour, whatever it is that you do. But
everything.
When my husband did investment banking, so he was working all the time too. Like we were both just grinding it out every day, all day. And I don't know where I was going with that, but we were grinding it out. Yeah. And I just never realized, like, I was going to networking events. I was getting up. I was making all the calls all day. I was processing, coming in at 5, processing, then going to a networking event. Like, I loved it. So it was fun, but I put in the hours.
Yeah.
I think some people just see that, like, oh, well, you don't go make the calls and you're telling us to go make the calls. I was like, I made the calls. I promise you.
Yeah. Was it you'll be praised in the light for the things you do in the dark?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what, no one saw all that, all that time. That's frustrating to do on brokers too. Some people are like, oh, you shouldn't make that much money on this deal. It's like, dude, You didn't see all the bodies back here that didn't make it.
I've learned though, it's like no point of like trying to justify it. You just say,
explain this to you.
I'm very appreciative. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, so what's on the horizon for LanCarte? Anything coming up new, or just grinding away, keep brokering, or are y'all still hiring people right now, or what?
We're brokering. We've got some. We're handling, so Walsh Ranch, I think is an exciting, it's not mainly on the industrial side, but on office, retail, mixed use. It's a 7,200 acre master plan community, one of the largest in the country.
Oh, that's awesome. So where's this at? This is in Fort Worth?
It's in Fort Worth, west side of town. So Lido ISD, which is like the best ISD in our area. We are handling all the commercial.
Her brother won a state football championship with Lido this year.
Oh, yeah.
So he's a punter for Lido.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you from?
And varsity goalie.
Oh. So Bearcats.
Yeah.
Bearcats.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're handling all of Walsh Ranch commercial, which is a big listing, and we're really excited about that. And
so it was I guess a family had a ranch there. They've sold it off to a developer? Or?
No, they still own it. So it's a family.
And they're going to just parcel it off to the developers? Is that what they're going to do?
And self-develop some of it.
Okay.
So they partnered with RPG on the residential.
Mm-hmm.
So there's 15,000 homes already on the ground. It's about to be 50,000. It's like I said, it's one of the largest master plan communities in the country. And then right now it's just been residential. And then there's an elementary, and Cook's Children's has a hospital. Mm-hmm. But we're bringing in all the rest of the commercial.
All the pad sites and all that stuff.
Yep.
That's cool.
So there's some exciting announcements coming down the line there. And then we've got some other pretty fun, cool assignments that we're working on.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome. Yeah. Well, congratulations for all your success. It's awesome.
Same to you.
Yeah. Well, thank you. No, it's been fun watching each other's career. Kind of, we've been just kind of going along at the same time and all that stuff. And so.
Remember that building you bought in Haltom City? I feel like that was one of the first. You bought a couple in Haltom City, but on what was it? Delonte.
Yeah. Yep. We bought that. We sold it to a client on 1031. I think Jess still manages it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I feel like that was one of the first ones we worked together or something.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's funny. I remember the first day I met you, it was on some building somewhere. It was some iOS site.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always tell people I was in industrial before industrial was sexy, and iOS was, it's a metal building with a yard.
That's all it is.
That's all it is.
Yeah. But that's what you were saying earlier. It's like, you just put an acronym on it, man, and institutional money gets excited about it. They got a buzzword to say around to other capital partners.
And it was a lot better 10 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
Man, you could buy
those. You could buy a 20,000 foot building on 5 acres for what you could buy a 20,000 foot building on 1 acre.
Yeah.
Same price per foot, because no one really attributed any value to the land. They're like,
honestly, even maybe a little bit less because it was metal building, maybe a little bit outside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. And now that's like the most coveted thing out there, it seems like. But that's why I started buying them, because I was like, I hated it when I had to try to find them. You know, it was like a tenant rep assignment for one of those, or a buyer rep. It's like, everyone I did was off market. I was like, forget this. I'll do listings, but I don't want to chase these things like that. It's too much work. They're all, but that's why I was like, I want to buy these things because they lease quick. They, they're always needed and all that stuff. And then,
when you and I got in, everything was like 25 a foot, 30 a foot. Now we're 130 a foot.
Right. Yeah. 130 a foot sounds almost cheap now.
230 a foot.
I'm paying 188 a foot for a building right now, and I feel great about it. Isn't that weird?
It's crazy.
I know. It's funny. I had a deal.
Where do you think this is slowing down?
It's slowing down for sure. I think. I hope they don't lower interest rates. I think.
Tell me why you hope they don't lower interest rates.
I just don't think. Well, selfishly, I just think it'll create
more people buying. Coming in the
Yeah, well, it's just it'll sustain pricing or raise pricing, and I just think I don't think like anyone's truly felt the pain yet. It doesn't seem well. Okay, I say that I'm going to talk out of both sides of my mouth here. I feel like one thing I look at every week is I look at the unemployment claims, and they're going up.
Yeah.
Like I started tracking it probably 6 months ago. There's around 196,000 a week. It's up to 240,000 a week now consistently. So that's 50,000 more people a week filing for unemployment. So people are getting laid off. The economy's slowing down from that standpoint. But then I go to a restaurant on the weekend. It's packed.
Yep.
It's every hotel's booked. I was in Oklahoma City a couple weeks ago on a Tuesday night, and I went to go book a room at a hotel.
I was about to say hotel costs. You try to go on vacation. I'm like, how does everybody afford this?
Oh, it's ridiculous. It's
$800. I mean, $500, $800 a night at just a nice hotel, but nothing like the Ritz in Florida, like at a Marriott. A nice Marriott. But I'm like, how this is nuts.
My wife, she has a friend of ours and our sons. They're going to a concert in the stockyards. They're like, oh, we'll stay the night. I was like, no, you won't.
Yeah, $1,200 a night at the Drover.
Yeah, I like the Drover, but like, it's not like it doesn't blow me away.
It's still a hotel room.
It is. There's like you don't go into the hotel room and be like, oh wow, this was worth it.
Yeah, it's
the hotel's cool, but the hotel room's like, okay, yeah.
I'd go spend $300 right down the street, stay there, and go have a drink or dinner at the Drover.
Yeah, it's funny. I told this. Have you ever been to Hotel Emma in San Antonio?
No, but I've seen. It looks awesome.
It's really cool. So if we're down there, or me and Will are down there, and our roofers with us, we were looking at some buildings we had in our contract. We go there for a drink one night, and I was telling the bartender, I was like, hey man, this is a really cool hotel. He goes, we're the #1 rated hotel. And I told him, I said, hey, this kind of looks like the Drover. This kind of reminds me of like the Drover, but it reminds me of the Drover, but like cooler, has more character to it.
He corrected you.
And he's like, this is the #1 hotel in the United States. And I was just like, shut up, man. Just give me my drink. I was like, okay, I'm not getting into this discussion with you, man. But they're like $600 a night there, but we don't stay there. So we just go there, have a drink. So we'll go down to the A-Loft or whatever at the airport. So, but I look at that and I'm just like, man, people are just still spending money, and everything's so much more expensive now.
Everything.
So I don't know. I think that if they keep rates up, pricing will have to crack at some point. Like, and that's what I don't know. I'm seeing a couple more bankruptcies now,
Yeah, same here.
So
we have more lockouts on the property management side.
Yeah. That's,
more sell leasebacks.
Yeah, that's always a sign.
More sell leasebacks happening.
Yeah, but I don't know. I just don't think they're going to lower rates. I think they. My thought was that they were going to lower rates for Biden for the election, but I think he screwed that up so bad with his debate debacle that they're like, what? We'd have to lower the rates to like 0 to make that work. So I don't know. I just don't think they will. I don't think they should.
I don't think they will this year.
Yeah, I don't think they will either. I don't think they should. But I don't know. We're still finding deals. We're not going to buy as much as we want. We've been getting a lot of owner financing, but just because we've just been asking for it, and we're like, hey, this is how to make it work. We'll underwrite to normal bank financing, but we'll ask for owner financing, and man,
more and more sellers are willing to do it.
I'm saying we're batting 2/3 of our deals are owner financing, So, it's one way to make them work, and it's easier than going through the bank process. So, but yeah, that's kind of what I see. Well, like I told you, we were talking earlier, we're doing a lot of debt now.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot of opportunity just to put money out there versus, having to go through the whole process and speculative deal.
Did you raise a fund?
Yeah.
A debt fund?
Yeah. So we, so we raised a fund. We're we're going to have our first close next Friday, and then we'll have a year worth of closings. So our goal is to get to 25 million. We're like 12 right now. So we'll, so we'll just keep raising and have quarterly closes. But that's been a very interesting process, learning that. And I never really wanted to do a fund, but the whole reason I did is these people show up. They're like, hey, man, can you fund this deal? I'm like, yeah. How much do you need? $1 million? When do you need it? In 7 days? I'm like... So it's been me and this family office just doing it. And I was like, dude, there's a business.
What kind
here.
of rate are you getting?
16 on pref, couple points in, point out. First lien, we're getting 12.5 to 14.5. So yeah, that's a pretty decent position to be in, and just
don't have to paint it, lease it.
Got to check on the first every month. Go, did they pay their payment? All right, cool. See you next month. So, but we're doing a lot of pref equity on single tenant net lease retail. So, we're just looking at it okay, downside, let's say cap rates move. All right, we got a 20-year lease with Murphy Fuel Station or Chipotle or whatever. We can ride that out. At least we can collect rent. We look for opportunities where our capital's not going to get wiped out, right? As long as there's,
backed by credit.
Yeah, it's backed by credit. And, so it's okay, well, the problem is we're getting jaded now more and more. We look at an industrial deal and we're like, how we can do that? Or just loan money at 17%,
Yeah.
So, that's, but I've always just kind of done debt. I've stumbled into loaning people money for their operating company, attaching as a second or something like that. Or I've, honestly, I had a steel company for a long time, and I got in a real bad issue with a partner, and, about went flat broke, and I wasn't bankable. And I took a bunch of money from a debt fund, and I learned how they did it. And I was like,
I'd rather be on the other side
I
of
was
this.
like, I'll be on the other side of this, And so so that was where I learned a lot of it, but done a lot, owner financed a bunch of buildings to people. And, learned how to use, my banks to do it, so I have note-to-note receivable financing deals with the banks, and, they let me do it, lend their money out and make spread on that. So when you couple the spread with, your equity and then the bank's equity in the deal, then you're making a pretty good effective return.
Mm-hmm.
So it's cool. And then you kind of just see more deal flow in a way. It's you
see whatever other people are doing.
Yeah. I'll tell you, this is a very funny story. I have a building under contract I'm repping a client on right now.
Mm-hmm.
We missed it in the beginning. And what happened was we got into a competitive bid situation with another buyer on a building, and the other buyer beat us out. And call my guys like, hey man, we didn't get it.
Yeah.
So, anyways, a couple days later, Will comes in and goes, hey, do you want to loan some money on this building? I was like, wait, what? Because Will doesn't know the brokerage deals I'm working on.
Yeah.
And he goes, yeah, this broker just called me and his client needs a loan to get this deal done. I was like, nope.
No, yeah.
I go, we're not going to loan on that. I go, that's, and he knew I just,
your client was trying to buy it.
He didn't know the address, but he knew I just kind of lost this deal and stuff. And so that buyer fell out. And he gave him a debt broker. He goes, here, call this debt broker, and so, but they just couldn't get it done. And so now we're in position to buy the bill. We're under contract on the building. But it's just so funny. I was like, man, the information flow, right? Yeah. It's so just seeing the debt side
a lot of stuff.
So that's another thing we've been looking at. We've been looking at just debt maturities, looking at them like lease expirations.
Yeah.
Call these properties. There's a decision, a lease expiration is when a decision is made.
Yep.
A lot of businesses sell during
maturing debt.
Maturing debt. Same thing. You're going from 4 to 8. You want to refinance, you want to sell. A lot of people are going to be cash in refining too, So, so I don't know. It's a cool space.
There's a lot of ways to make money in this business.
There really is. It's very interesting. I love it. I'm addicted to it, just like you are. It's like me and Will always send us each other emojis or like text me like, "Hey, do you need a hit right now?"
Well, it's like I got other ideas. We've been talking for a while, but
it's like it's like, hey, when we text you like you need a hit, it means like, hey, you want to get on the phone and just talk about real estate.
Are y'all just looking at industrial?
On an acquisition basis. Yeah, just industrial. I don't really want to learn anything else. Yep. So, but debt side's pretty, the great thing on the pref side, like, it's like when somebody brings you a building to buy, they're like, hey, you want to buy this building stuff? Yeah. Here's what it's like on the pref side. Here's a full pro forma. Here's a signed lease. Here's everything. We need this much money. Here's our sources and uses. Da, 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 da. Would you like to loan us some money? We're like, yep. Okay, cool. And then like, oh, well, what is this trade at? You're building to a 7.5 and they trade at 5. Okay, cool. You got plenty of spread. Yeah. Like the underwriting process is very quick. Mm-hmm. Because
coming through
the data's
BS
out there.
A little bit though.
Yeah. Coming through the BS a little bit, but like maybe the data's out there, right? Like I can call Northmark,
right,
and have 200 comps, and because it's like a bond, right? They're trading a bond,
on single tenant retail,
yeah. So that's and then it's funny how much equity likes it. They're like, oh, we're invested in a McDonald's, great.
Starbucks,
I'm like, yeah, but we can buy this really ugly industrial building and make like 3x. So like, that thing's ugly.
Yeah. It is true.
Yeah,
that is very much true.
Yeah, so it's interesting to see how I just saw a bucket of capital for like a lot of my investors that they wanted instant cash flow, and so we get instant cash flow off these things. They don't want to wait for the value, the lease up, mark to market strategy.
The risk to them, it feels more risky.
Yeah, it feels more risky to them, and so they like that. And then but like one of them was a family office with me, and they're like, this just covers our overhead. We make this investment, covers all of our overhead for our office, and then we take bets with the rest of our money. So, so that's it's fun. I've always done debt. I'm like, God, I need to do more of this, and so it's fun. It's fun to kind of make kind of get sick of looking at the same building over and over again. So this is kind of cool. We're doing deals.
We sold a portfolio and we carried the notes, but we wanted a guaranteed. I was like, if we're going to carry the note, I want a guaranteed interest payment. But they're still selling it, so then they're selling it, and then we're getting the guaranteed payment. So
that's working out. That's what that's how we're getting a lot of owner financing. We're trying to back into what owners are getting because their rents are so low. Older building owner guy, and we're like, hey, look, our debt payment to you is pretty much the same NOI you're getting currently on the building.
Right.
And so that's kind of how we're.
And if we don't make it, you get your building back and we've paid for it.
Yeah. And we put 35-40% down on it. So, it's fun. I don't know. It's like you said, there's so many ways to make money in this business, and it's fun.
That's the creative part that gets fun.
Yeah. That's what I love. I love being able to like just craft a deal like that, be like, well, just do this, this, and this. And they're like, oh, okay. Yeah. That can work, So that's the fun part. So, well, Sarah, this is a blast.
Yeah, it was fun.
Glad you get over here to do this. Thank you for making the trek. I know it's not close for you, but I know a lot of people would be interested to hear this. You've had an incredible career, and it's just been fun watching you grow. And so,
well, thank you. Yeah, this is fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Sarah LanCarte, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.